All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay, and I am on staff with Magnified Giving, and we are here for a cause conversation to discuss disaster relief as a social cause. So we have some great representatives here from some diverse organizations in our community. And I'll let Jerry start off and introduce himself and also his organization's mission and how that relates to disaster relief.
Good morning. My name is Jerry Dickens, and I'm with the American Red Cross. I oversee the group, coordinate. I'm a volunteer with the Red Cross, and I oversee the group that manages the mass care section of the Red Cross services. So the Red Cross is an organization that prevents and alleviates human suffering as a result of disasters. And we do that by mobilizing our volunteers and the generosity of our donors to be able to do that, because it takes resources, both practical and physical, as well as folks to do that. So what we do is kind of put all that together to provide relief to folks who have been affected by disaster.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. Bill?
I'm Bill Perry at Child's Hope International, and our mission at Child's Hope is to motivate and to mobilize churches and communities to care for orphans and children that are in distress. We do a lot of humanitarian relief. We also do a lot of disaster relief when hurricanes hit, floods come, things like that, to provide food for children around our community, locally, regionally, and around the world, actually.
Very good. Thank you. And Jonathan?
Yeah, my name is Jonathan Hauge. I work for Shoes for the Shoeless. We are a faith-based nonprofit up here in Dayton, and we serve a 12-county kind of region, providing shoes and socks, which is one of poverty's biggest unmet needs for a child. And we give out a lot of shoes and a lot of socks. And then disaster relief, we've done 3 what we would call disaster relief trips since we've started. We've sent a team down to Port Arthur and Beauville, Texas, when Hurricane Harvey hit, and then we sent a team down to Pollocksville, North Carolina, after Hurricane Florence, and then we had the Dayton tornadoes, and so we were doing disaster relief in our own backyard.
Very good.
Very cool. Thanks, Jonathan. Cool. Well, to just kind of get started exploring this topic of disaster relief a little bit, would you guys, just kind of jump in and share your thoughts, but what, from your perspective, what's the impact of disaster relief on the community? Why is it important that people like you and people like your organizations are doing this kind of work?
I'll jump in real quick. One thing I think is because, when people lose everything, they seem to lose hope. And when someone comes alongside of them and says, hey, we can help you, it may take a while, but we're here to help you, they see hope. So we not only bring it, but it also through what we give, but also the people in their heart, because, we don't know what that means when we lose everything. I mean, the people in California right now, what a disaster is going on there. What are those people going to do? How would you feel if your whole house burned up? Will someone come along and help you in your hour of need? I think that's the biggest impact, I believe, that we can bring.
I agree with Bill. I think a big part of what we do at the Red Cross is people who have just been through most likely one of the most terrible times in their life, and everything is upside down. Everything is complicated, and hope is something that is difficult sometimes to see. And so a lot of what our agency does is point people help them get pointed in the right direction. So the need that people may have may be something physical, it may be something completely unusual, but what we can do is we can help people stand up and help people say, oh yeah, there is a place that I can go to help with food, or help with shoes, or to help with, all the other things that a person might need that they may have lost in a disaster.
Yeah, I think those are all really great points. I think the other kind of caveat is depending on the magnitude of whatever the disaster was, um, it most likely affected everybody or most people within that community to the point that they need a hand up, they need help, they need somebody to come riding in to help point them back in the direction of what normal was and what normal can be and should be. And so I think a lot of times, I think, Jerry, the Red Cross is an incredible example because immediately upon a disaster hitting, you know full well the Red Cross is figuring out how do we mobilize people, how do we mobilize resources, how are we going to get into the masses. And that's what the Red Cross does really, really well is they can spread far and wide into an area. But then I think about the other areas that are a little bit harder to get to, and that's when we've gone out and done kind of disaster stuff. That's what we focused on because we've said, you know what, the Red Cross and these other bigger organizations are going to be able to tackle the main amount of people that really need it. But there's going to be a lot of people because what we found from working with people in poverty is a lot of times transportation was already an issue for a lot of people in poverty before the disaster. Once the disaster hits, well, now all public transportation is really is coming to a halt very abruptly and quickly. And so how can we as a small and nimble organization kind of thread the needle and figure out how can we get towards those people that are going to need the help. And so that's kind of what we've done. We've partnered with the Rotary, like local Rotary and Lions Club type people to say, you know your communities better than we do. Point us in the direction of a church who might be able to help us kind of navigate your area and maybe give us kind of a home base to set up in, and then we can and figure out how to do some smaller one-off kind of home type stuff.
One thing I've seen, Teelins, if I can add to that is,
Mm-hmm.
Defining disaster, a lot of times we think of the big disasters.
Right.
Well, a single mom who can't put shoes on her kids' feet, that's a disaster. And I think for the kids as they're listening to this is, disasters are all different forms. We can still reach out and we can still meet people's needs, and I think that's the heart of relief, is giving someone a hope, giving them a peace, and it could be in a small way. Don't always have to be the biggest thing. It could be the smallest thing. So, just divining disaster for each one of us, we never know. We just got to be ready.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that actually brings me to one of the other questions that I wanted to ask, which is, I guess just what are your thoughts on disaster relief at a global, national, and a local level? And this topic in particular is kind of interesting for students who are interested in looking beyond the local level impact, because it's pretty easy to say, look at all these places and all these organizations who do work, when disaster strikes in other places. But obviously, as you were saying, Bill, there's, that impact here at the local level as well. So I guess what are your thoughts maybe on work that you've seen done at global, national, or local level, or even just speaking to how this is important to students who might be living in Cincinnati, Dayton, Cleveland, but here in Ohio?
I can jump in and just give a little bit of an idea on local level, and because I think this is really cool and encouraging, is you see what's happening, fires in California, or you see, hurricane washing ashore in Louisiana, and those seem like they are far and distant, like you see it on the news and we're all like, well, it's just really sad. I don't really know what I can do personally to help, but there's a lot that we can do as a local community to come alongside those people that are far away. And that's how you get connected with a group like the Red Cross, or a group like a Child's Hope International, or Shoes for the Shoeless, or another group that is out there going to do something to help. And you say, you know what, hey, you, and you say, I need to help. I want to help. How can I get involved? What kind of a donation drive can I put together in my neighborhood? Can I put together with my school? I'm going to collect toiletries because that's important. They're going to need that kind of stuff, and I'm going to send it down in one of these trucks from one of these organizations.
Yeah, there's always a place for a person to serve. There always is. So when people, there's, what can I do? You can do a lot. You know, I had a girl came in and she heard that we were doing something for a local community down the road, and she took out on her as her own project, and she came up with a bags for hope. That's what she called them, and she organized people and got hygiene products and all that kind of stuff and got it in so we can get it out. So there's always a place. I just think people just need to make a choice to help, you know, and by doing that, they bring hope to themselves. You know, when it comes to the hurricanes, like you said too, is, you know, we do a lot of international work here, but when it comes to hurricanes, when it hits like that, when the Florida one hit, the one hit in Texas, and when the floods hit, we stop and we regroup and we send the food to there because they need it just as much. And different organizations gets to use our food, but we depend on local people to come in here to help us with it. You know, because we can't pack all that food ourselves. There's only 7 of us on our staff, and you know we do over. You know, we're going to do 8 million meals this year, and so we depend on people just to come in. So I think that's the local impact for us is people coming and being a part of the hands and feet. You know, we are a Christian organization too, and so we want people to be hands and feet of Jesus Christ, and so we want to give them that opportunity.
I agree with both you guys, and I think if there's one thing that we all know as far as whether the disaster is local, national, or global or international, is that no one agency can do it by itself. So you know, that is a big focus for us in the Red Cross is, you know, just as big as anything else is what all of our partners can bring, and it has very little to do with what my agency can do as much as it is how can I meet the need of this person that's been affected by disaster. So so I think when we think you know, on a large scale type disaster, whether it's the tornadoes in Dayton or whether it's something on the other side of the country right now, we have to think how can we bring all these partners together, and not just how is the Red Cross going to get this meal out, how are the partners in the Red Cross going to get this meal out, or get this clothing need met, or get any need met at any one time. So that's a big part of our focus, what, you know, regardless of where the disaster is.
Yeah, I think partnerships is a major key. You know, just like, you know, as Jerry was talking about, or Jonathan was talking about shoes and stuff, you know, we had a whole container of shoes come in and we shipped them out. So knowing your organization, that's something, if they come in, I can give you a call and say, hey, I got a whole trailer full. And, you know, how many of these shoes would you need? You know, I think that's a key. When you're looking at local, we partner together. You know, I don't think any disaster relief should have a flag.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Just my thought.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Thank you, guys. I would love to know, kind of from each of you, looking back, what brought you into, you know, maybe working or volunteering in the nonprofit sector, and specifically within, you know, this disaster relief or poverty, or, you know, what drew you to this work?
Wow, that's going to take a long time. I'll let one of you guys go first.
I just, you know, as a volunteer now, I've been a volunteer when I was throughout my career. My career started in healthcare, and I was a paramedic firefighter for a while, and for a long period of time. And the Red Cross just seemed like kind of a natural segue for me to do the work, because it's always been about more about the work and less about the pay or the you know, it's about some undescribable sense that you get from the feeling that you get from helping folks and from organizing compassion and getting together with a bunch of people that have the same idea in mind, which is how are we going to help these folks get back on their feet. So that has its own power and has its own draw to it for me. And that's, I'm a person that likes change. The Red Cross is definitely an organization that's changing. So you can't, and we do that because you never know what it is, what the disaster is. Are you ready for it? And we don't know what it is. So we have to always be flexible and ready to change. So that's something that that we do quite often. So that's what drew me to the work. I kind of have a rescuer personality, so naturally the Red Cross was the right fit for me.
For me, I just think back to when I was in high school and when I was in college. I've always internally had this desire to want to help people and serve people. But it took me a little while to get into the role that I'm in now. I started out of college doing marketing and graphic design, and I did a couple kind of agency jobs and a couple of corporate jobs. And then I had always been on the board of trustees for Shoes for the Shoeless. And eventually we had grown so much that we needed to bring a second person really on full-time staff along with our executive director. And the board approached me and asked if I'd consider doing this as a career for now in fundraising and marketing. And we're small, so the beauty is I get to have my hands in just about kind of everything that we do. I go on deliveries. Right now we're doing drive-throughs, and I kind of conduct traffic, acting as a traffic cop, kind of moving the flow of the drive-through line like we're at Chick-fil-A. And then I'll take orders and kind of fulfill that as we're going. But it's been a really cool journey. I've learned a lot. I think one of the most intriguing things of it all has been just how much I've learned about poverty in general and the different things that affect it, and how to really come alongside somebody to help them in a caring and loving way that's not condescending, and does not judge, why they're in the situation that they're in, but just care for them and love them and figure out how we can tangibly meet one of their needs that will hopefully allow them to kind of take care of some other ones on their own.
Very good. I've been in the ministry since 1990. I was a district manager for Wendy's for 17 years, and the Lord called me into ministry. And so I started with ministry, and every mission trip I went on seemed like when I went overseas, it would be with an orphanage. And even though that wasn't our intent, by the time we got there, it seemed like that's where we landed every time. And so I think the Lord just kept showing me, I got kids in your plans. You don't know that yet, but I do. And so you just keep doing what you're doing. So I did. And after 14 years of doing that, the Lord says, I want you to go and work for Child's Hope. And I did. I've been here ever since. And never knew about Child's Hope before that. Never heard of them. In fact, I get a phone call from a man I never heard of. And he asked me if I wanted to come along and staff with him and feed children around the world. And so I think I just was obedient to what the Lord told me to do. I didn't seek it out. I think it's just something that you serve. And, no matter as Jerry said or Jonathan said, it's something that we felt this is what we should do. So it's not a career. It's not a job. It really isn't. It's more than that. And so I think for the students, if they're looking for a career, go find a job. But if you're looking to serve, nonprofit's a good place. It really is. I'll leave it.
That's good. Thank you guys. And I guess I just want to point out too, to the students who are listening, is just that they're these causes are all interrelated. You know, you're hearing Jonathan talk about poverty, hunger. You know, a lot of these organizations aren't just focusing on one thing, and that's really cool. So, you know, if there are multiple things that you're passionate about, the cool thing is that you can usually find organizations that are really, you know, hitting on things that you care about, maybe multiple things: disaster relief and poverty, disaster relief and hunger, education, children, disaster relief. You know, these things all tie in together. So I just want to point that out too. What advice would you guys give to students in 2020 and beyond who are interested in, you know, supporting disaster relief? How can they get involved? Bill spoke a little bit about this earlier, you know, just kind of jumping in and making a choice. But what are some specific ways, or maybe even just some broad ways, that you think students can get involved in this cause?
Let me just chime one thing in and I'll let these guys hit more on it. But when you ask that question, I was just thinking, you know, I truly believe a person who's looking for a service job won't get that service. They won't serve because they get the job unless they're already serving. And so that's my advice to these students would be serve now in any little way. Just start serving. I mean, because if you think you're going to wait to care for the poor, you're going to care for the homeless or those who need shoes or those who went in disasters, and you're not already caring for someone, it's going to be hard for you. But if you start now and caring, I mean, what about someone you're sitting at a lunch table next to you and that kid's not, he's all by himself. Well, care enough to go over there and maybe sit with him. That's a start. It's a little thing, but it's a start. And I think as you walk through that, especially as the students, they have all the rest of their high school years and their college years or whatever they're going to do in their life. If they start now, by the time they get as old as I am, you know what to do. And so I would encourage them with that. Again, it can be in any facet. It doesn't matter where you go, just serve. Start small and work your way and see where the Lord takes you. So that'd be my advice.
Yeah, I agree, Bill. I agree with you with, you know, kind of put your toe in the water with any organization and see if it's the right fit for you or not. And that's always been, you know, it seems like with the Red Cross, that's been um, kind of a good way for people they can volunteer with us, of course, as they could with maybe Jonathan or Bill with your group, and get a little feel for what it's like. And if it is your cup of tea or if it is your passion, you will find out quickly. And that may be a great way to kind of focus on where am I going and what am I doing, and you know, is this the right field for me? So right now, I mean, everybody knows what all is going on nationally with all the emergencies, with one hurricane behind another, and wildfires and the pandemic. There is plenty of opportunities at the Red Cross for anybody who is interested to volunteer. And so that is a bit of a plug for volunteer for the Red Cross, but I do say that is a very good way, as Bill mentioned, if you get in there and serve, you can do it. It's free. It's a good way to get in and test the water and see if it's the right group. You can meet the people. You can see the way that our organizations are structured. You can see firsthand what we do, and you can see the reward that you get from doing the kind of work that we all do. You know, that so that would be I think that would be some good sound advice to folks thinking about an area like this for a career.
So another part of my life, I work and just hang out with a lot of high school kids with Young Life, and this is a conversation I think I have a lot with a lot of my high school friends is, what do you want to do with your time? I think your time, and that was one thing that I learned that I wish I would have learned earlier in life, just how valuable my time is, because that's the one thing that I can't get more of. and it's finite and it's a resource. But think about your life right now. Take a minute. I know you're sitting there watching this video, might be bored out of your mind. I'm sorry. We'll see if we can make it a little bit more exciting. But you have 168 hours in any given week. Let's say that you sleep 8 hours a night. That might be more, that might be less. That's 56 hours sleeping each week. You're in school for 30 to 35 hours. Right now it's probably virtual, so who knows? You might be doing less because you're just a whiz and just cranking that stuff out. That leaves you with about 82 hours every single week of your own time. That, what do you do with it? How do you fill it? Do you just sit on your phone on TikTok, just crushing it for hours? Do you sit in front of the Xbox playing video games? I'm not saying that these are bad things, but they've got to be done in moderation. And you have a lot of time and a lot of opportunity to do good in the world, to make a change, to make a difference. One quote that I heard that has always stuck with me is this: if it's not you, then who? If it's not you that is going to do something to make a change and to make a difference, then who is going to be it? And that was a question. When they asked me if I wanted to work for Shoes for the Shoeless, my thought was, I don't know, like, it's a nonprofit. There's not a lot of money in nonprofit world. You know, I'm not going to make a great living. But then that one quote just crept back in my head: if it's not you, then who? And I was like, oh, like my heart starts tingling. I'm like, I guess it's got to be me, right? And that's kind of the Spirit kind of leading you into that. And I'd say there's going to be things in your life that are going to cause great pause and cause you to want to sit there and sit back for a second and say, you know what? I really feel something burning inside of me that I have to do this. For a lot of people, they will feel that and they will run 100 miles away in the opposite direction because that's scary and they don't want to deal with that. But for you, I would say lean into that hard and start challenging that. And you might surprise yourself and something might happen where you say, you know what, I have to do that. Like, that is something in me that I have to do with this time that I have available in my life. I have to use it. I have to go serve with this organization. Don't shy away from that.
Very good.
Yeah, that is good. Awesome. Well, this is really good stuff. I'm encouraged. I hope you students are who are watching this. It's cool to bring people together who care about this stuff, and I hope you're encouraged too. But before we sign off and stop the recording, Jerry, Bill, Jonathan, do you guys have any lasting thoughts of encouragement to these students, or anything else you want to say about disaster relief?
Take a trip. Get involved. If you've never been overseas, I would say go. Take one time. Go see what's there. So when you come back, you'll give away everything you have because then you don't need any of it. It seems like that. If you can't go overseas, man, there's counties and there's states that can give you the same thing. If you can't find them, let us know. I mean, I can take you to downtown Cincinnati and blow your socks off. Yeah. And then I'll send you over to Jonathan. So I would just say that, I mean, go somewhere, see what blessings you have, and then realize that you can give something back. That's all I would say. Just get involved somewhere, anywhere, and just see what happens.
Yeah, I think that is smart for now, while when everybody's young, to be able to do what they can do and to see the world a bit, and to kind of get in. It may not always be clear exactly where you want to go with the career or what direction you want to head in, but there's a saying that passion loves company. And for Bill, for Jonathan, I can just tell this is the first time we've all met each other. and we are passionate about what we do. And I don't know if you're getting the vibe, but we could all three get along and figure out how to help somebody very quickly. So, so there is an incredible pride in that you take in being able to do that and to have focus. So that would be my advice, is just on Passion does look company. And if you do find a group of people that you can work with that have the same focus and idea, it's an incredible way to spend your career.
Good. Thanks, Jerry.
I think I want to just end with the idea. A lot of people think that kids don't have the ability to make lasting change and impact. And you guys do. You guys are world changers, whether you realize it or not. Someday you will realize that you have the ability to change the world around us. Don't take that lightly. You guys are amazing.
It's good. Awesome. Jerry, Bill, Jonathan, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but thank you, students, so much for watching. And I hope you learned something about disaster relief. And remember that this is just the beginning. You can keep looking into this cause, look into these organizations, look into all the other organizations that do this kind of work. And I hope that this inspired you and showed you the importance of this cause. Thank you guys for watching.